Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Me, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. Rayleigh, as well as Roger, has all the knowledge of the world of One Piece, so it's very possible that he knows of the existence of the sun Godnika, and he may even know that at some point this power could awaken. But to avoid all that, he decided to keep this secret hidden. But with the awakening of Luffy's fruit, there will be no more need for Rayleigh to keep this secret hidden, which means that he'll be able to help Luffy train again so that he can continue in Joy Boy's footsteps. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the possible reunion between Rayleigh and Luffy, Luffy's new training, and the new powers Luffy may get after this training with one of the strongest pirates of the past. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel, or even if you've been around for a bunch of episodes, we'd be absolutely honored if you consider leaving us a like, or even subscribing and leaving us a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out and motivates us to make more content. And if you'd like to help us out in a bigger way, consider sharing the video or the channel with a friend. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Rayleigh is one of Luffy's greatest allies, and ever since hearing about Luffy from Shanks, he had wanted to meet him face to face, but he just couldn't at that moment because Luffy was nowhere near his current location. He had also heard a lot about Luffy because of the great resemblance Luffy has to Roger, and this caused Rayleigh to create a great friendship with the boy in the straw hat. Rayleigh even considered him a friend without really having met or even talked to him yet. So then, the old man waited a long time until Luffy finally managed to get to Sabati Archipelago to meet him in person for the first time. After they met, Rayleigh started talking to Luffy to try and find out as much information as he could from this boy. And through this conversation, Rayleigh became even more interested in Luffy because he felt that Luffy had that same spirit that Roger did. Now, we don't know if Rayleigh knew that Luffy was the current bearer of the Fruit of the Sun Godnika. After all, Rayleigh participated in Roger's journey in search of the One Piece, which means he does know the secrets of the world and especially the Void Century. From all of these journeys, he may have learned of the existence of the Sun Godnika and of Joy Boy, which allowed Rayleigh to have a clear view of Luffy's powers. But he may have preferred not to comment on this power because it could have put Luffy's life at risk and even put a great deal of pressure on the power that Luffy possesses. The conversation alone could have even gotten in the way of Luffy's awakening, so Rayleigh may have just kept this secret of the fruit from Luffy so that he could learn on his own to control the fruit's powers. So Rayleigh just let Luffy continue on his journey the way he should. Following everything that happened in Marineford, Rayleigh went to Amazon Lily to see Luffy and to see that Luffy was in quite a shock. He had lost someone very important to him, so Rayleigh went to Luffy to motivate him to continue his dreams, as Luffy needed to awaken his fruit to be able to follow in Joy Boy's footsteps. Therefore, Rayleigh went to where Luffy was to offer him some intense training so that Luffy could obtain haki and perfect his mastery of it, and thus be able to take on many more powerful enemies like he met in Marineford. And because of this, and knowing that he needed this, Luffy accepted his proposal. So Rayleigh taught Luffy how to use all three different types of haki, allowing Luffy to perfect each of them so that he could strengthen his combat all the more. Besides helping Luffy to create his three different types of haki, he also helped him develop three different transformations that increased his strength. We had Gear 4 Bound Man, which eventually developed into Snake Man, and finally Tank Man. Three very powerful transformations that made Luffy incredibly strong and enabled him to face challenging enemies such as Doflamingo. Because of this training, Luffy and Rayleigh gained an even closer relationship and developed one more as like student and teacher, and they created a great respect for each other as well, to the point that Rayleigh was even willing to tell very important information that he had discovered in the past to Luffy. But he also respected Luffy's wishes and didn't want to give the important information about the Void Century because he believed that Luffy would not be ready to hear about it, or he at least just wanted Luffy to learn about it on his own. Since his time with Rayleigh and Amazon Lily, Luffy has managed to get a few more answers and a bunch more questions about what has gone on in the past of this world. But now that Luffy has managed to awaken his fruit, there's a very good possibility that Rayleigh will go to him again to inform him of the great power that he now actually possesses. Because, as I said before, Rayleigh most likely knows about the existence of the Sun Godnika, and this would be really useful for Luffy to be able to improve his Gear 5th, creating even newer transformations to allow him to achieve even higher strength, speed, and even increase his rubber capabilities. Now, in fairness, we don't know how Rayleigh could actually help Luffy perfect his new powers, as there are many possibilities and directions he could take them. But since he does know about the past of the old fruit carriers, it would allow Rayleigh to tell Luffy how the power of this fruit works and how Joy Boy managed to make it even more powerful. So again, there's a really good likelihood that they could meet up to do some new training, because Rayleigh and Luffy have this amazing friendship and relationship, and they may even miss each other, which is gonna want to make them meet up in the future, if for no other reason for Luffy to tell Rayleigh all about what's been going on. During his farewell, Rayleigh even gave Luffy a big smile as tears streamed from his eyes because of how proud and how powerful powerful Luffy had managed to become, showing that Rayleigh really believed in this boy's dream. Rayleigh even went so far to publicly declare to the Marines that Luffy was his student, saying that if anything happened to Luffy, he would be the first to be there to save his pupil. And he's even gone as far as saying that Luffy is the only person worthy of wearing Roger's straw hat. Because Rayleigh saw in Luffy the image of his former captain, so he knew that in the future, Luffy would find the treasure that he'd always longed for, as well as being able to discover the secrets of the past and the Void Century, and maybe even more. The training that Luffy could get from Rayleigh would allow him to reach the maximum potential of his fruit, because Rayleigh knows about Joy Boy's existence, and it would allow him to train Luffy in the right way with the right intention. This knowledge would allow him to force Luffy to use his maximum power so that he could use all the power that his fruit offers. And since it's considered a freedom fruit, possessing infinite possibilities of ways it can be used in combat, this would give Luffy an even greater reach, because after all, that great big conflict at the end of our saga is going to be happening in the near future. Just measuring by the results of the first training that Luffy and Rayleigh had, it showed some great results in strength and allowed Luffy to take on some very powerful enemies. But this second training would be something kind of similar, but could also add a little bit more to it since Luffy has developed all the further. You see, this time it would be even more intense so that Luffy can control the power of his fruit and even the Conqueror's Haki that is proving to be very effective against Yonko. Since Rayleigh had a very similar power level to Roger, this means that he himself has a very high level of Conqueror's Haki, allowing him to reach the level of a Yonko even if he doesn't possess the title. We also have to remember that we've seen in flashbacks that Luffy has had that Rayleigh had demonstrated advanced Conqueror's Haki. Just think about how he removed the restrictive collar in the slave auction. He was able to do it, and although Luffy didn't realize at the time what he was seeing, thinking back after he had learned about Rio in, Udon prison, this was the very thing that showed Luffy there was a lot more to Haki than what he had already learned. So if he was able to further improve his fruit and his Conqueror's Haki in new ways, this would allow Luffy to confront the most powerful enemies, and also, and maybe more importantly, fulfill the legacy that Joy Boy left to him. Because now that Luffy has the fruit of the Sun God awakened, he carries his determination, and he aims to free people who've had their freedom taken away by the world nobles, thus being responsible for changing the world and bringing the dawn. And whether he likes it or not, Luffy now has a great responsibility in his hands, and with the awakening of his power and achieving the title of Joy Boy, he's now responsible for bringing about great change. With this new goal in mind, Luffy is now the hope of many people around the world, and many people still believe that Nika will be able to bring freedom to everyone, so Luffy is going to be responsible for accomplishing what Joy Boy from the past failed to do. We've seen that the former holder of the title Joy Boy was a very recognizable person during the Void Century, and the Gorosei not only feared his power, but went to very great lengths to hide his legacy and his devil fruit after he lost his life, and tried even to take a hold of it so they could keep it in a protected place so that he'd never come back. This person may have possibly caused great problems for the kingdoms and invaded them and setting people free who were imprisoned by the rulers of those kingdoms. Joy Boy helped people in many ways, not only freeing them and helping them achieve their goals, because if you think about it with the fishmen, Joy Boy went to the Fishman Island at the bottom of the sea and was working to bring them to the surface with the Noah, but unforeseen circumstances prevented him from keeping his promise to them. But in a poneglyph, he says that in the future, someone will come around who will be able to help them and finally bring Noah to the surface. There are even many in the community who think that he was possibly referring to the next Joy Boy, who of course has become Luffy. So Joy Boy possibly may have assumed the name of the sun Godnika while he was helping people during his lifetime. And a proof of this is that many people know about the sun god's tale. In Skypiea, they actually have a full belief about this deity. On Fishman Island, and even in Elbaf, the land of giants, they know about the tale of the sun god Nika. But apparently, the world government doesn't like this information to be spread for some reason. Because, let's be real, they're most likely the ones responsible for causing Joy Boy's death. Or at least, they were party to concealing his existence and all the things that happened during the Void Century. Because there must have been something really important that happened that could still even damage the current world government's image. So bringing it back to Rayleigh, because he participated in this adventure together with his former captain. He knows all the truth and all of the events, and may even know everything about Joy Boy's existence. But in the past, the truth has been hidden, so Luffy wouldn't really know the full story. But now that we're coming to the end of this Wano arc, it's really likely that Rayleigh will try to find Luffy again at sea so he can train him, so that Luffy can learn some new techniques to defeat all of those responsible for taking away people's freedom, the world government, along with the Celestial Dragons. Luffy, after all, has become the greatest hope for the world, and he also carries an incredible legacy that he's going to have to fulfill in order to obtain the treasure that he longs for. Because if this doesn't happen, it's going to be up to the next Joy Boy to be able to continue the goal of bringing peace to the world. But through the training, Luffy would be able to fulfill this goal, ending the possible cycle of joy, so that the world could live in an era of peace, maybe forevermore. So with Rayleigh's help, he may be able to bring this era of peace as he's able to train Luffy to make him ready for the next dangers to come. And in this way, Luffy would become king of the pirates, just like Roger. But with all that said, friends, I'd love to know what you think about it. Do you think that Rayleigh really knows about Joy Boy and maybe knows a bit more than just what he's kind of alluded about the Void Century? And also, do you think Rayleigh's gonna seek out Luffy to try and train him, or at least pass on some information? And could this even have something to do with the fact that Roger was waiting for someone? So maybe there's even a message that Roger himself wanted to see Rayleigh pass on. Let us know what you think in the comments below. But with all that said, I want to thank you so much for watching the video all the way up to the very end. Be sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, why don't you give us a like or hit that red subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. Really hope to see you all in our next video, and let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.